You're listening to Consolidate That podcast. Hey listeners, we are starting this new initiative, new podcast about consolidation. So let's just chat about what it's going to be about and why did we start doing it. Bill, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ivan?
Pretty good. So we're doing it. Why are we doing this, and what is this podcast about?
Boy, there's so much energy in the veterinary consolidator space, whether it's private equity, whether it's software and technology, whether it's implementation of business processes. There's a great opportunity to come in with our domain knowledge and pull this together into something meaningful.
All right. Well, then you named a couple, the private equity, the technology. Who do you think will be interested in this podcast, and who should be the audience?
Hey, I think anyone that wants to be involved with consolidation in veterinary medicine should be on this podcast or listening to it.
All right. Well, and I guess after this, most people would ask the question, well, who the hell are these guys and why are they doing this? So why do we think we're qualified?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, the veterinary consolidation space in the U.S. is, been full steam ahead for the past 10 years. But most of it has been the arbitrage, right? The acquisition, the roll up. It's now entering a phase where, the low hanging fruit have been acquired. And now there needs to be some operational performance improvements at the practice level. And, the combination of your experience on a software, veterinary knowledge, and process workflow development, and mine in veterinary consolidation from an operations perspective and system integration does create a pretty strong synergy to start to solve some of the core challenges for veterinary consolidators in the technology space.
Well, sounds good to me. Hopefully those that are listening are considering us qualified now. So what are we going to call this thing?
That's a good question. We had a few thoughts. Consolidate That with an explanation point at the end, I think sticks in my mind. How about you?
Yeah, that was the winner on the list of those that we considered. I don't even remember the list. I just voted for that one. So it'd be Consolidate That. That's what we're going to call this thing. So is it going to be just two of us chatting, or are we going to invite some people into it?
No, I think we're going to have guests. We certainly want to bring in people in the veterinary space that have experience and knowledge to share, but we also want to bring in people outside of the veterinary space because, consolidation and roll-ups, that's just a core business function that's been going on in other verticals, human dentistry, physical therapy, service companies, even human medicine. So there's a lot to learn outside the vet space.
Well, and you and I, we traveled to some amazing human healthcare facilities. So finding some leaders from there and talking about our experience, learning about that. And you're right. I think that the problems are actually the same across all the verticals where companies are trying to merge small businesses into an enterprise. And it would be cool to hear the opinions of the thought leaders in other verticals.
No doubt.
So this is quite a commitment. With the last podcast that we deployed and so far into 70 episodes, we had to do it quite frequently. So what are we able to commit to right here? What do you think?
Yeah, I think weekly is a great place to start, and we can pivot. We can do it more often if we think that there's a need. But I'm happy with that. How about you?
Weekly is good as long as we have the same amazing team on the background doing all the groundwork, and we can just yap for an hour once a week. I think that would be good. All right. So the previous podcast that I was involved in, we did sort of random topics because we had all kinds of people coming from the space. But I think that this one is a pretty overarching topic or topics connected into one big strategy. So are we going to keep some sort of structure to it, or is it going to be random episodes?
Yeah, so one of the challenges of consolidation is there is so much that needs to be done in a relatively short time frame. If you're thinking about it from a value creation, private equity point of view, as well as the current market opportunity. So in order to create something that's meaningful and valuable, I think there does have to be some structure to it. And you and I did talk about this from a maturity point of view, and to take the perspective of what phase of maturity is a particular consolidator currently at, and what does that allow them to do effectively, and what does that basically preclude them from doing effectively. And I think that's a pretty good structure to work from.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. And so I think that we also discussed that maybe we'll slice them into some sort of seasons. And based on that maturity model, maybe we'll slice them so they're kind of following one another. So a listener could actually walk the journey of Consolidator growing from inception up to sort of a predictable operational organization.
Sounds like reality TV.
This could be a reality podcast. Maybe that's another name. No, we have the name. One thing that kind of circles in my mind before we jumped into all the maturity and everything, it's super important to talk about how the value is created at the consolidator level. So, what do you think about that as the first topic next week?
Yeah, it has to be. That creates alignment across the organization, from private equity through the executive team. And then depending upon the model, it even rolls down to the frontline staff potentially. So I think that's a great first episode to dig into.
Well, done deal. That's our commitment then. We're going to call this Consolidate That, and hopefully every week deliver the material that will be super exciting and with the guests from other verticals. See you next week.
Thank you so much for listening to the Consolidate That podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please find us on any podcast platform. Also, you can learn more about us on our website at vetintegrations.com. Stay safe.